With the cost of living the way it is at the moment, we knew we had to give away another solar kit. This is our 3rd year in a row now, and my favourite time of the year. Today, we're in the far north with Sarah and her family to install her brand new batch kit.
Hey,
G'day.
good to meet you. Mwah. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Mwah. How's it going?
Good. We're here with the kit.
Kia ora, I'm Sarah and this is Awhina.
And I'm Tim and this is Miriama. Welcome to our tiny house in Hokianga.
We just won the GridFree batch kit.
Woo!
It was quite surreal to win the GridFree batch kit. I got a message from Craig. I sort of thought, oh, he probably just has a question about our living situation. And then when he said that he'd, read our entry and really liked it, and I just I couldn't believe it. I was just so a bit speechless and I just had to go and share it with Tim straight away.
When Sarah got the call, I couldn't see her, but I knew what had happened straight away because I could hear her. She was crying and I knew she was on the phone, so I sort of put 2 and 2 together. And it's hard to take it all in one moment. You don't really realise the full implications until a little while later. So my reaction at first was probably a little bit subdued, and just throughout the rest of the day I was kept remembering, oh, that's right, we've won this thing, and oh wow, it's just gonna make life that much easier. Kept bringing a smile back to my face and just really brightened the day. It was great. Yeah, I grew up off-grid, so it was very familiar to me and I quite enjoy it. Apart from just being out of necessity, I also quite enjoy the simplicity of living off-grid and the challenges and the problem solving that you sort of have to have in your daily life. So I always imagined it was just going to be part of my adult life. Things really started to kick off when we bought this piece of land 2 years ago. It really gave a shape to the vision, I think.
We're installing the batch kit that was the giveaway for this year. I'm on barbecue duties, so just getting a fire, getting some embers going so I can get a nice barbecue going for everybody. And the electricians are up here installing the kit, so they're getting that done. It's going to be a long day for these guys to get it all done quickly, but they're making really good progress.
Off-grid living means to me it's trying to find an alternative way of doing things that is less consumerist, that has a lower impact on the planet. It means doing things yourself, using the resources you have at hand, making something out of nothing, really. And being happy with less, I think, is a big one. And I guess creating a new normal. We're not trying to strive for bigger and better all the time. Just seeing the prices in the supermarket. And just knowing what are the cheapest things on the shelves, and it's not the healthy food, it's not the fruit and vegetables, the whole foods, it's the really heavily processed food. And I think I've seen around me the desire for people to grow and produce their own food as much or as they can, and for one reason or another it might be quite difficult to achieve that, but we're really lucky to have a beautiful example of that in some of Tim's relatives, where they actually produce a huge amount of what they consume. It's really inspiring to see other people who have these ideals and actually get to live it out, and they're they're living what they're talking about, and I think we aspire to that as well. So it's really special to see people out there that can actually make that choice, no, I'm going to do this myself, and it means I don't have to rely on the big business, the big supermarkets, the food miles. My goodness, how far food has to travel to sustain us. This is my marakai, my garden, and I'm hoping to subsidise some of our grocery bill with growing food from home, trying to focus on more vertical, peas there. This is actually the first time we've gardened on the spot, and so it was a bit of a challenge, actually starting, digging these beds. It's quite a heavy clay soil. It does have a good amount of topsoil, but yeah, still quite heavy, clayey. So yeah, we're just wanting to enrich the soil as much as we can. And something that we have done is actually, when we're digging, you can see here, we've dug the paths as well and put them onto top of the bed, so it actually forms drains. One of our challenges here is it does get quite wet. We've just sort of thought, let's try with the good drainage and see how that goes.
And how long have you been gardening?
The last few years, every time we've sort of started a garden, we've only been able to do like 1 or 2 seasons there, and we haven't really been able to like commit to that place, figure out what works well. So I'm really excited with this new garden, and we are actually starting relatively small. So a big sort of hurdle to this was actually doing the fence around, because we have plenty of wild pigs and possums and rabbits and pukeko. We really wanted to do the fence before we started, making things really happen in here, and it does give us a lot of peace of mind. It keeps the kids out as well.
I would like to choose the off-grid lifestyle, partly because it's just what I know. It's just fun. You can be more creative, and you're forced to be more creative. I quite enjoy that, I think. And aside from that, then it's an ethical choice as well, less consumerist and smaller carbon footprint and all those environmental reasons.
And it grows better humans, basically. I think a huge resource for us is community and friends and family who are currently living this lifestyle or are striving to, and are doing that to different extents. And so we've got a lot of people around us who are actually just a wealth of knowledge, and we can just pick their brains. We're trying to achieve something, or set up a composting toilet, or what solar kit do you have? All of these questions that people just seem to have to find out for themselves. It feels really uplifting to know we've got this big community around us who are doing life in a similar way, and we draw a lot of inspiration from their lifestyles.
For this property in particular, it's a forestry block. It's a huge resource actually in many different ways. It's firewood, we can use it as milled timber, or even just as a raw material, just for poles or garden fences, all sorts of things. We use it everywhere, and if we didn't have it, I think our life would be that much more complicated.
I can see a few natives coming through here.
Yeah, that's right. The canopy cover that does exist has allowed some of these things to come up. There's a lack of grass.
Yeah.
And other things that would like to smother these small shrubs, but up until very recently this was all being grazed still, so the hope is that over time we will slowly encourage these ones through by felling a few of these big trees around it to provide more light, as well as planting a few specific species that we want to see here, probably a bit of kahikatea and tōtara. So it'd be silly not to have something here.
Oh.
You have to be okay with failure and messing things up and learning from those mistakes. So that's a resource there, is failure. So if I don't know how to do something, I just give it a go, and based on my best sort of judgment of the situation, and usually it partially works or it doesn't. So then you know what not to do next time. So yeah, just learning on the job basically.
So one of the big struggles has been just the hand washing. Although I do enjoy it at times, it can be like the last thing you want to do on a cold, wet, wintry day, or the last thing you want to do when you've got a mountain of cloth nappies to scrub. Just having that is going to just free up our time a lot, so we'll be able to focus on more things we enjoy, like being with the children or gardening or just looking after this place.
It's a more home-based lifestyle, which I really love. The difficulty arises when you have to juggle home life and the off-grid life, which demands your attention every day. Having to juggle that with going out and earning money to pay the mortgage or keep things sort of ticking along. Yeah, the ability to earn money from home would be the optimal sort of situation. So that sort of leads into what I do for work now. Is I've established a small manuka nursery. So I raise manuka seed from seed all the way up through to they're about 9 or 10 months old by the time they get planted out. So that's been a huge breakthrough for us. It just means that I can be more centered around home and still make money.
And I can participate in it as well.
Yes, that's right. It's a family business. So these are my manuka seedlings, which these ones are probably about 2 months one and a half months old. I've just broadcast sowing them, so that there's hundreds.
Gosh, they grow like weeds.
In here, yeah, that's right. No, they really are. When these get a bit older, when they've got about maybe 6 to 10 leaves per plant, I'll take each one of these as a cell. I can sort of take that out, and it'll have hundreds of seedlings in that one spot, and I can just sort of wash away the soil with a hose, just gently wash it away, and that gives me a sort of a handful of seedlings, and then I'll be planting them into trays like this, but just one tree per cell.
Man, you'll end up with hundreds of them.
Yeah, thousands, tens of thousands. Yeah. So this lot here, and then I've got another lot just up there, together should give us plenty to get on with. We're hoping to have a nursery all set up here with about 30,000 manuka. That'd be what we're aiming for, but you know, there's always a few losses here and there, so we might end up with a few less. But you know, I'd still like to think that we can get well over 25,000 seedlings raised and sold. These ones, I've sown them just in the last month or two. They'll be ready to sell. They'll be about 300 or 400 mil tall, and they'll be ready to sell this winter. They're selling like hotcakes.
That's fantastic.
In terms of feeling proud about this place, you know, everything you see here is the work of our hands and hard work that we've put into this place, and sort of gives you goosebumps a little bit. So, yeah. Getting solar power means that I can put energy and time into other tasks and projects that I have. I have so many things that I want to do. If my time is taken up with everyday small tasks, then it minimises the amount that I can spend on, let's say, the garden or the orchard, or just improving our living situation around here. So yeah, just gives us more time to focus on other projects. So this is the tiny house. We completed it about 3 years ago. We started living in it the end of 2020. Yeah, so I built it myself. Sort of a bit of a learn on the job. But yeah, it was an improvement from our last living situation, which was uninsulated. There's no heating, there was no water. So having built our own place, although it is smaller, being a tiny house.
You two young children in this place. It's impressive.
Yes.
And you sleep all together in the same bed?
3 of us up there and Miriama's down here.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, because it's our couch in the day and her bed in the night, and some evenings she says, I'm tired, I want to have a moy, go away. We're like, where are we supposed to go?
Yeah.
Like,
So it does,
to bed.
it does have issues, you know, we're probably reaching capacity, I'd say. So yeah, we do have plans to build an extension. We're gonna put another room through these French doors. It'll just lead on into a room. The loft is just hot all the time and quite claustrophobic, so you know it's quite it would be nice to have another room, and just it allows that flexibility. Tips and advice for other people who are considering a off-grid lifestyle: don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. You know, there's a certain DIY element to it that you sort of just have to be okay with, and just being happy with everything just being a work in progress, basically. So you're going to have exposed drains and things that aren't quite finished, and that's just all part of the journey, and it doesn't mean things are going to be like that forever, but I think you do have to be okay with it, at least for some period of your life.
There's a real value in like being able to observe your land or your surrounds before you build or, you know, make advancements. We owned this place for a year before we actually moved on, and we were coming and visiting, and Tim was working here milling, and we're, you know, doing the driveway and the tank and walking all over it, and that gave us the chance to like really like get to know it and observe and be like, okay, where's a good house site? You know, come on here with our friends who have also, you know, set up off-grid lifestyles, and, you know, where do you think we should build our house? Like, do we go with the view? Do we go with the shelter? Do we go with the dry spot? Actually giving yourself the time and the space to observe.
How did you come up with the design?
So there's a few things. Because it's on a trailer, it's technically a vehicle.
Yep.
So being a vehicle, there's certain parameters you have to work within. So it's only allowed to be so high, you know, 4.2 meters from the road level up to the top of the roof. So that sort of governs how high you're allowed to go. And the width is only allowed to be 2.4 meters wide before you have to start getting extra travel permits and, you know, complicated things like that. So when you're working with those dimensions, that narrows the design down a fair bit. You know, there's only so many things you can do. Having the walls this lighter colour makes it feel larger than it is, and it helps reflect the light. We also quite like the natural wood look, so having a wooden floor some wooden, sort of table and cupboards, and then also a wooden exposed ceiling. It's a nice contrast. I guess things like having these exposed wooden beams. This is native timber, and it's got quite a retro look. We recycled the floor of an old house, and these were the joists for that. So we sort of thought we'd have them on display. And then other little things like the hardware, you can make a cheap job look a bit fancier if you. So I just spray painted these with a sort of a matte black, just a can of spray paint. And
It works.
Yeah.
Now the other thing is storage. It's not a very big place. How do you deal with it?
We've got steps
Yep,
that
you
also
see this.
double
Yep.
up as cupboards. We have these L-shaped bench seat around there, and so that's more storage stuff that we don't go into very often, but it's just somewhere to keep stuff that we need.
Getting solar power for us means that more time, more flexibility, and just sort of takes a bit of that sort of struggle off the off-grid living so we can focus on the good things.
I think there are a lot of community initiatives that everyday people would like to get involved with, but they find that they're too busy or life is just a little bit too stressful or something like that. And so having extra time now that we have because of this GridFree solar kit, it means that we can get involved with the community initiatives that we might not have been able to. There's a lot of need around here, and I think if we weren't all so busy, then we might be able to help each other out a bit more.
Your new batch kit.
So cool.
Excited? You want to power it up?
Yeah.
So this one, then this one, and it'll be running.
Okay. Here we go. There we go. Awesome.
What do you plan on running now?
Well, we've got the freezer up and running here, and next thing on the list is the washing machine. So
Washing machine.
We are pretty psyched about that.
And a fridge for your beers?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what I can get away with. So,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, awesome. Having this new GridFree batch kit installed, it's exciting because we're going to be having ice blocks tomorrow straight out of our freezer. That's pretty cool, and we can put meat in there and store that and get meat out of the freezer whenever we want.
But also really excited for like the possibilities and just the freedom and just be able to push that button. It's definitely going to make our lives easier and more enjoyable. I'm really grateful for this.
Darling, now that you've got this washing machine, what are you going to do with all your spare time?
Oh, but I just sit here and watch the cycle.
It's a very worthy use of time.